You know what was interesting with Spore is that there was a lot of hype, and I think a lot of the media came back afterwards and said, well, it didn't live up to the hype, but you guys were incredibly successful with Spore.
Yeah, financially, it was a great title. It hit a different audience. It didn't hit the hardcore gamer at all. It hit a much more casual, younger player, actually. It's amazing how many, 2 and 3-year-olds played Spore, because they'd be sitting on their parents' lap, they'd be describing some strange creature, and the parent would kind of make it with the mouse. So you basically had the kid with the imagination, and the parent with the hand-eye coordination, basically working together as a team. And it was really interesting because I didn't foresee that at all. But also, it hit very strongly with like the 10 to 15-year-old crowd, rather than the 20 to 25-year-old kind of regular hardcore gaming crowd.
Was that expected?
Not really, although it should have been, because those players are much more about imagination, creativity, and the other players are more about hardcore RTS first-person shooters.
In terms of what you're doing now with Stupid Fun Club, what did you learn from that experience that you are applying now as you embark on some new games?
Well, looking back, I think more and more I've found that the deepest emotional engagement comes when people are the center of the game. At first in games, it was like I get to drive the experience, and so I play the game differently than you, which makes it very different than a movie. Games like The Sims, it was more like I can actually put myself in the game, more representation of myself and my friends and my family. And now, in some sense, the game is kind of a toy of my life. What we're doing now with Stupid Fun Club is we're actually trying to take your actual life and turn it into a game. Wrap structures around it, interpret what you're doing, have a deep situational awareness, be able to score your daily activities. That's kind of the gist of it. Is how do we take your everyday life and then make it feel like a game to you? And in doing so, hopefully expose a lot more possibilities around you than you're aware of.
Such as?
Well, I was down in Burbank a year ago, and I had a meeting there, and I was like an hour early. I was staying on the street corner. And I looked down the street and I saw this old Shoney's Big Boy sign, and it was just kind of cool. And I walked down there just for the hell of it. And in the parking lot were all these cool sports cars and these old guys sitting on lawn chairs. And I love cars, so I spent the next hour talking to these guys. It turned out that last Friday of every month, they just met up in that parking lot and brought their cars. I realized later that I really enjoyed that hour spent down there, that it was just through pure luck that I happened to walk down there and see it. But that my life is probably surrounded with possibilities like that all the time that I'm not aware of. And if a system was smart enough to understand me at a very deep level, and understand the world at a very deep level, it could basically expose those possibilities to me. It would have a deeper situational awareness of what I could be doing right now than I would. So I started kind of thinking down that path. And what would it take to collect that data about a person and about the world? And started realizing that we could actually use games to collect a lot of that in fun, interesting ways. And the purpose of it is, again, how do we make games that make your life 3 times more interesting? Not games that make you hide away and, kind of not go out and see people do things, interact in the world.
Games that make you more engaged and more intelligent about your own life.
Yeah, that engage you more thoroughly in the reality that surrounds you, rather than closing you off from it.
Is this something that could be tied with augmented reality?
Well, in fact, a lot of what we're looking to right now are people in the augmented reality community. A lot of people I'm hiring are from that area. Yeah, and most people don't realize how far those techniques have advanced already. There are lots of developers out there with really cool technology in search of a problem. There's no vision driving it, but they're making amazing little things. And so I'm kind of looking at all these little bits and pieces of technology and how we can kind of bring them together to make something amazing.
Are we talking, incorporating Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of this, because they have a lot of data.
Oh yeah, they do. The kind of data I'm looking at though, like, these guys meeting in the parking lot last Friday of every month, that's up on some website somewhere, but it doesn't appear in Google Maps. There's no central database I can go and find them. It's also very specific to me, so of the, terabytes of information out there that we build in the world, 1/1,000,000th of 1% is actually going to be interesting to me. And that's the hard part, is mapping that. What 1,000,000th of 1% do I want to deliver to that person?
How much information is too much information? At what point do we say that's TMI?
Oh, for a person, not that much. I mean, it's interesting because most of our intelligence is pre-conscious. There are about 100 million bits of information flowing into your senses every second. Your conscious stream of thought is about 100 bits per second, about 1/1,000,000th of the amount of data coming in. But yet you're aware of all that data. And so right now, our consciousness, its primary function is to filter out information. And already, when you get these cars with the heads-up displays and all this stuff, I bought a car a little while ago, it was a Lexus, and it had all the parking assisting stuff and heads-up display and all this stuff. And I found that I used to be able to parallel park beautifully until I got this car that was supposedly helping me parallel park. And it was like showing me, video feeds and grid overlays and all that. And all of a sudden I couldn't parallel park anymore,
That's awesome.
I developed this intuition, for how to do this thing. And then, when all this information about the thing was presented to me, it was just overwhelming. And so right now, of course, the web, on our phones, just the amount of information we have flowing to us all the time, especially with Facebook and things like that, is really swamping a lot of people,
And that's where you're trying to balance how much is too much and really kind of make sure that people don't get overwhelmed.
Right. And a big part of that is learning, to a very deep level what a person is like and how they engage with the world, including information delivery. Some people are going to want to have stuff popping up every 5 minutes. Other people are going to be annoyed if it pops up once a week, and you need to kind of understand that person to figure out how to deliver the information that they want.
And what's the timeline on it?
Well, this is something that we're actively developing internally at Stupid Fun Club, and that we're hoping to start delivering within a couple years, maybe less. Because we're dealing with apps here. We're not dealing with AAA giant Xbox thing. This is going to be something that's going to be delivered in bits and pieces. Really, it's a suite of apps that work together, and you don't need all of them. You can just try one, and it'll do one aspect of this. But that allows us to iterate rapidly, deliver it incrementally, and learn from how people are using it.